No one can really understand that life unless they're in it. And that for a man to explain that they're a stay-at-home dad, they're leaving a job that they've been working a decade in and growing in that position to then have to go home, and if they see it as quitting, they almost think it's an easy way out. But once you're in it, like you said, it's just the hardest thing you've ever been a part of is being a stay-at-home dad.
All right, everybody, welcome to Running Free. I'm your host, Jesse Karajat. Thank you so much for being here. We've got an awesome topic that I want to talk about today. Stay-at-home dadding, I think it's called. Statting. We're trying to figure out what to call it. But being a stay-at-home dad, the diary of a stay-at-home dad, if you will. And I've got an awesome guest. My good friend Dave's going to be joining us. What's up, Dave?
Hi, Jesse. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you, my friend. This has been a long time coming, and who better to talk about being a stay-at-home dad than a stay-at-home dad right now?
That's me. That's my title. That's what I
That is your
scream at
title.
my kids. I'm home. I'm home for good. So yeah, this is exciting. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I think it's gonna be an awesome conversation, man. I have been a completely focused stay-at-home dad as well, and I have a lot to share. I mean, you and I have talked offline about this, man. It is an amazing job, quote unquote. It's an important job, but it is fucking hard.
I
It
didn't
is
know we could
hard.
say that. Yes, I will edit that out. Yeah, it is hard. And I've been, it depends on the age of the kids. It changes with time. We were talking a little bit just before about when the kids are younger, there's different challenges. And my kids I have one approach, she's 9. And there's a whole different preteen dynamic there that sometimes I'm happy to deal with as opposed to my wife. So it's probably sometimes better for dad to be around, sometimes better for mom, but we're making it through.
And the tricky part is just when you feel like you've got a particular age down, they change and they grow older. So how long were you kind of like in the quote unquote corporate world?
It's about a decade I was in college athletics and maybe a little over a decade with like grad school and career advancement, got a taste of that, moving up, I loved being around sports. And then it became a little bit sour. But I kind of got burnt out in athletics, and it kind of worked out where my wife was that stay-at-home mom at that time. And through long conversations, we decided to switch. I never thought that would be what I'd be doing. I never would have entertained being a stay-at-home dad. I actually can remember specifically when Christina, my wife, told me she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And it was after she was pregnant, so there was no turning back. I couldn't change her mind. And uh, she wanted to do it. Her mom was a stay-at-home mom. I had 2 working parents, and it was just a different dynamic growing up, so I never was really exposed to it. And I don't think I would change it for the world now. Now that we had at least one parent home with our kids, basically their entire lives, somewhat. Whether one of us is working part-time, full-time, getting them off the bus now from school. It's really been something special that I don't think I would trade for the world. And I'm glad my wife took that first step.
What were your fears, trepidations? What was going on in your mind and your heart before you made that decision to say, "Yep, I'm going to be a stay-at-home dad"?
Like we have both got advanced degrees working towards
Yeah.
something. Why would we want to cut that off and stay at home? You had that traditional viewpoint of, yeah, go to school, you work, right? And then you'd get childcare. So when she said she wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, it kind of, oh, okay, well, I didn't know we were going to go that direction. If I wanted to advance, we would have had to uproot the family and move in my career. And it just seemed through our conversations that's not what our family dynamic needed. It's kind of foreshadowing for when this just happened a couple months ago again. Um, just not good for our family. And, that traditional viewpoint of it, we work, get money, put kids in childcare. It changed when I saw her being a stay-at-home mom and how the impact it had on the kids. She's much more patient than I am.
Mm.
She's definitely a more loving individual than I am. I don't know if we had our kids on here, maybe they would say something different with me in the background staring at them, but I I've certainly learned a lot. I learned a lot through her, watching her those first couple years with the kids. But the conversations we had about me coming into this role, uh, really, I just thought I could do it. I thought learn through her, and I would learn on the job. But with young kids, and at the time, I think my son was still he wasn't even a year yet, so he was still breastfeeding at that time. So a lot of my wife, credit to my wife, she's pumping at work at a new job, and I'm, at home with the kids with a younger child. So definitely a learning curve, but learning that dynamic and being at home was important for me to see her do it, and then my transition was easier knowing that it could happen or it could be done.
Yeah. I remember when, so in my journey anyway, Meg, my wife, had been working for about a decade. And when we started having kids, we were both working. And then she, similar to your wife, Christina, said, "Hey, I want to be a stay at home." And she did that for about 3 years. So I, said, "Yeah, great. I see the value in you being home with the kids." And then again, similar to you, you didn't use these words, but I will. But when I started to burn out in my corporate career, traveling a lot, young kids at home, dealing with the pressures of work and corporate life and politics and just trying to be everywhere at the same time. When I decided, hey, we decided, I should say, I'm going to step back, and my wife wanted to go back to work at that time. I remember thinking I understood what it took or what it meant to be like a stay at home. I also remember humbly thinking I had what it took to be successful at it. I had to oh, I'm regimented, I'm oriented, I'm time centered. Like I can put together these agendas, everything's going to go to plan. I remember what I thought it was going to be like, and then I remember what it felt like, say, 6 months in. And two things come to mind. One, and I won't cuss this time, but it was a lot harder than I thought it would be, and I thought it would be hard. I did not go into it like, oh, stay at home, like blah, blah. Like I knew there'd be challenges, but it was harder even than I thought it would be. That was the first thing. And then the second thing I slowly started to realize is I don't think I'm built for this. And what I mean by that is I'm built to kind of get instant gratification of accomplishing something. I'm built to you ever heard there's bird dogs and cage dogs? Bird dogs like to go out and build and conquer and be able to put your flag in the world and be like, that's what I did. When you're just day in and day out, I don't even want to use, I want to be careful with language here. I don't want to say just. When you are day in, day out, existing in this very private, smaller world where no one necessarily sees what you're doing and the effort and the striving and the challenges, right? When you're kind of contained with no outlet and you can't measure yourself against the outside world, when you're not getting feedback, instant feedback on what you're producing, and I say that through the work lens, I became very restless. I don't know if that resonates with you all, but I realized wow, this is hard because I need to learn how to be self-fulfilled, and I need to learn how to find joy and gratification from hey, my struggles and my challenges and all of the work and all the commitment to my kids. I'm not going to see those rewards or those benefits until they grow up to be awesome little humans. But you don't get that day to day when you're just in struggling, right? And I don't know if that resonates with you, but those are my two big aha moments early on as a stay-at-home dad.
I would say something you touched on, organization and routine. I pride myself on being organized, need that routine, and young kids need the routine too. Nap time, certain feeding time, all that. And even now, routine, our kids are still built that way. But when they go off routine, that's where I kind of struggled. If I missed a nap, the kid didn't sleep, or um, snack didn't arrive at the right time, and they're whining, they're crying. I remember I had to put earplugs in with my son just because he was trying to talk at the same time. He can't talk yet, but he's we called him the pterodactyl because he was just loud. And I would be at home with earplugs in. I could hear him, and I certainly he was safe, everyone. But
Disclaimer.
but my wife would come home, and I'd have earplugs in just because he was just that loud. And that's something. One of my weaknesses was I can't take that loud noise, that many loud noises constantly. And again, like you said, you weren't built for it. I don't think I was originally built for it. Um, but I learned, and I was a stay-at-home dad for through COVID. Um,
Mm.
and we had a lot of time together then, couldn't even leave the house. So I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about the kids and building that routine. And there was a struggle there. I'm not gonna lie. Like you said, getting burned out in the corporate world. I certainly hit that wall too in the corporate world. And it can't, I want to say my wife got this job offer at the right time because I was hitting a wall too. And it seemed like the perfect time to switch. But then once I was in this stay-at-home dad life, I saw how hard it was. You referenced how hard you knew it would be hard and difficult, but I never could have imagined how hard because I need that pat on the back sometimes. I need the you're doing great. That's a great job. You did so good with those dishes. And
Yeah.
but it's impossible because you never get that. You're working on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. That, like, I think I thought by running away from my corporate career, I would feel differently because I thought how I was responding to those stresses and pressures were circumstances. And I thought by removing the circumstances that I would feel better. And again, I knew it was going to be harder, but what wound up happening was a different set of circumstances wound up making me stress and feel the same way, but it was just for different reasons. On one side, I don't have to go into it. I think anyone that's worked in a corporate job with expectations, performance, politics, all that, we know how that can be stressful. But what was new for me was just like constantly dysregulated, constantly overstimulated. This is me, just from like the volume of sounds and needs and unexpected outbursts and all those things. So what was like shocking for me was like, wow, I thought I would feel different. And maybe more specifically, I thought I would feel better. I thought I would feel like I had more control
Yeah.
of my life. But what made it harder, just that second point that I made earlier, the thing I realized was I felt less in control that I've ever felt in my life when, how you put it earlier, is like I have a routine, we're going to follow it. And then when shit goes off the rails, how am I going to respond to it? And one of my biggest lessons was around weaknesses. I think my weakness was, and still is a weakness that I'm trying to bring up, is how good am I at just letting go and just kind of rolling with it? Woo way, if you're into Eastern woo woo stuff, right? But like not resisting. Things fell apart. What does it mean? Don't blow up. Don't like let my inner kind of temperature rise. That was the biggest thing for me because I thought I can control my environment. And with young kids, you absolutely can't. Look, 1 in 10 Americans today struggle with alcohol use disorder, and I was one of them. Did you know that there is a safe, science backed daily pill that you can take to drink less or even quit alcohol for good? It's called naltrexone, a doctor prescribed medication that you get online, and our sponsor, Or Health, is the nation's leading provider of naltrexone. To date, Or Health has helped over 35,000 people find freedom from alcohol, and I'm proudly one of them. To get started, text STRENGTH to 710-710. Again, that's STRENGTH to 710-710 and get started on your journey to finally find freedom from alcohol.
No, the environment you have to react to what's in front of you. And I just go back to the not feeling important about what I'm doing. Like
Mm.
I thought I was doing something great. My wife was totally supportive and she'd come home from work and give me praise. Look how great, the kids are doing great. Everything's great. It was a very positive thing. But that inner battle of what did I accomplish today? That instant gratification of like seeing the children grow day to day doesn't really happen. You need that longitudinal look um, to see their progress, and it's hard. You have to like you said you wanted to be that self-fulfilling feeling good about yourself, and I kind of hit a wall at a time. I mean, I got burnt out with stay-at-home dad life
Mm.
after some time because it it was building up. There was just like the tension of just trying to feel like you're doing everything at the house, everything for these kids, and there's no, like, what's the payment? I'm not, not even just financially, but
Yeah.
what are you working towards? What are you working for? And you just don't see it. Sure, the kids are great and everything. Honestly, it's great. 100% was the right decision to have not just me, but one of us home. But me being home, it was a good thing. But I just didn't see it and it started to get in a darker place, I guess.
Yeah. How much of I'll use the word burnout again, how much of the burnout on the stay-at-home dad side of the fence was from the daily repetition of what you were doing versus lingering thoughts of what like you could be doing or what you were not doing, like second guessing it, questioning like your career, like talk me through like what was the source of the burnout?
I'd say that's the hardest part. What am I not accomplishing personally? Sure, it's great. I'm putting this time and effort into my family and the kids. Even now, my wife and I will say we're a team. It's we, you know, we have this new job. Yeah, I'm making some money too. And but it's a team. It's communication is key between a wife and a husband. That's just a different topic. But for the family to succeed, you have to be on the same page. And I would say the hardest part for me, where I was hitting that wall, was having to tell other people what I'm doing. No one can really understand that life unless they're in it. And that for a man to explain that they're a stay-at-home dad, they're leaving a job that they've been working a decade in and growing in that position, to then have to go home and you can't explain it, especially like Division One coaches. How do you tell them this is my life now? I'm quitting. They see it as quitting. They almost think it's an easy way out. But once you're in it, like you said, it's just the hardest thing you've ever been a part of is being a stay-at-home dad. Um, but being able to justify I feel like you had to like justify this long winding story of like why we had to make this decision. And when that you could probably just look at a stay-at-home mom and she wouldn't have to say that. It's just almost accepted obviously as a stay-at-home mom. That's why we're talking about it today as a real topic. Stay-at-home dads is such a
Right.
unique thing. um, but you have to justify it, and there's always whenever I explain to people, I'm like, all right, I have to get ready to tell my story. Not that I am happy to do it on this podcast, I'm happy to be here, but it's even just my neighbors, I'm home
Right.
a lot. I see what they're doing. I'm home and I see everything. But when we're talking, what do you do? It's the first thing that comes up, and here comes my story.
Right. Right. You know, it resonates with me a lot. You're just making me think like, I think I made that decision in like, let's just say June of a given year, 2023 to be exact. I can remember, and it persisted. I can remember like when I would like meet, because we had just moved out to Colorado and I'd like, we meeting a lot of people, whether it's around the neighborhood or kids were starting to do sports. And dude, if I can just be so humble to say, it's like I remember when like a dad or a dude or someone asked me like, oh, it's coming, right? Like, oh, what do? You just kind of wait for it these days. That's just the way we are. And I remember I wouldn't just say, oh, I don't do anything. I'm a stay-at-home dad. I don't have a career. I was not comfortable saying that. I don't think I still would be. And I know that that's not right, and there's no truth in that. But I would always preface it and then say it and then re-explain it. I'd say like, well, for 10 years I did this and then I got to this and then I was feeling like it wasn't the right thing for me. So we decided and then now I do this and it's been great, but I'm thinking about doing this next. But hey, it's great. I'm great to be home with the kids. And that's because I'm like protecting or preserving something. And to your point, it shouldn't be that way. But like there's something about it that just makes you feel like you need to explain it.
Is that pride? Is that a weakness? I wish I was more comfortable in my own skin. That's really the hardest part about this whole job, and I'll call it a job. It's just being home and having to explain it, having to justify, and not feel like you're second guessing your decision to do it when you know it's right. In your
Right.
walls of your own home, our family's thriving. Everything's going perfect. But when you have to explain it to another person, you start second guessing and having to meander your way through this long thing where they're just like, all right, man, I really don't care. Now I
Yeah.
don't care.
Right, right. Because you're taking so long. But if you think about it, though, it's like it's understandable because from elementary school, it's the focus is what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And then you're working all the way through. You're applying to colleges. In your case, you're playing, playing baseball in college. We met in college at Rutgers, studying towards doing something, and we kind of did life together. And my career went one way, yours went another. But my point is, when you spend, 30 years building towards something and then abruptly just stop it, it makes sense that it's like you feel like you have to explain it.
Yeah.
But where there's no truth in is that there's something wrong with it. And I think to your what you hit on is exactly right. Pride is the word. I think the propensity to feel like you need to justify the decision comes from a place of pride, which is just deeply, deeply embedded in us because we live our whole lives where it's supposed to be building towards this chronological sequence, which is like promotion, promotion, leave company, promote, and you're climbing. So when you cut it, like I want to give both of us grace for having that instinct to be like, well, let me explain this. But at the same time, I think like having conversations like this is helpful because like the point is like, no, it's a beautiful thing to do. But it's just also really, really hard.
Well, when you hear about those stories of fathers or mothers that worked, grew in their careers, and then their one regret is they didn't spend enough time with their children.
Heck yeah.
I've thought about this, you think about I've had time to think about this stuff, and, I was like, well, on the one end, I'm the other end of that spectrum where I'm certainly so you mentioned it on your one of your recent podcasts, the 4 pillars
Mhm.
of being a father, present. I'm certainly present, um, but I'll never say I wasn't there during the kids' younger years, and that's something important that I can say I don't have. I on the one end, I'm not excelling in a career, making, what is providing for your family. I have that written down. Is it always going to be financial? Is that what is actually providing for your family? Or, I actually loved your 4 pillars, from, I think Otto Kelly. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. You
Um,
got it. Provision, protection, praise, and presence.
he never mentioned money.
No.
You didn't talk about that on the podcast. So it's kind of enlightening, and it helped me feel like, okay, what I'm doing matters. I know it does. Again, in the 4 walls of our home, I know it, but um, it's just what society, the effect it has on you as you grow in this nation. I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. Nation works. And you think about the message. You cannot understand that decision until you are a parent. But I believe that like what you modeled and what I modeled to some degree is like, hey, like you make the decision what's best for the family, even if it means it can be uncomfortable as a man, right? I mean, that's what I
Yeah,
think.
and I don't know how to explain. My 9-year-old's asking me, "Are you getting a job?" And it hurts. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, you're just like, I don't know how to explain this because I can't just go through what you did. You know,
Yeah.
Emery,
Yeah.
my daughter, she'll be, "Are you going to get a job? Are you working? Are you?" And I'll be like, "This is my job." And Christina's like, "Well, maybe you should list out everything you do." And I'm like, "I'm not. We shouldn't have to justify to a 9-year-old."
Justify
But
it.
when you're like when she grows up, she'll see the sacrifices and why we made these decisions, where we're at as a family, and it'll mean more when she gets older. But it's so funny the hurt that I feel when I get asked, "Are you going to get a job?"
From your child,
Yeah.
daddy.
How do I
Are you gonna
explain?
work?
Yeah.
Well, underneath that, it's like, are you lazy? Like, why
Yeah.
don't you want to work? And it's like, how do you explain that to a 9-year-old? All right. Well, this part I'm gonna really enjoy. Not everybody has. I got to figure out how to say this. Staying home dadded. What do we say about this, Dave? Not everybody has statted. Stayed home
It's a
dadded.
good
Been
verb.
a stay.
We're putting words into the vernacular. We are changing the world.
Statting. Not everybody has been a stay-at-home dad before. So, dude, let's talk day in the life. You could pick a day. Maybe it's today. Maybe it's just some point in time when you were absolutely just like in a chaotic season. But like, what's a day in the life of Dave Lipay?
I won't pick today. I'm going to try and generalize a little, but you try and plan. This goes back to our routine and organization. This is what I'm going to accomplish today. And then you get thrown for a loop. You end up starting late. You have to go food shopping. You're there longer because you have kids and they want to help. So you're weighing every fruit in the produce aisle because they want to use the scale. And yes, very good. You did it. Now put it in the bag and put it in the cart. And then they're hungry. And then we're not going down this aisle. And so anyway, you get home late. Lunch is late. They're cranky. So you're making lunch. Then you're like, wow, it's 2 o'clock already. What did I do today? And I've been up since 5:30. And that's the hardest part of this. We were talking about this episode and how, what do you do? And it is a hard question. What do you do all day? I wrote things like laundry, and our dryer's currently broken, so I can't even do my job. Uh,
I don't have the
I
tools.
can't why can't we have a dryer? And then food prep, you know, you try and you're not just eating out all the time, but it's just so hard to explain how long it does take to make each meal, and then the kids are hungry for snack as soon as you're done cleaning up that meal. So your half of my life is just what's next to eat.
You're an airline attendant. You're basically a flight attendant.
Exactly. Yes, you're looking for that call light all the time. Oh, Harrison's ready for a snack. And you're just kind of constantly moving, and then all of a sudden it's bedtime. And like for me, I coach the kids. I've been saying this last couple of months, I've been actually busier than I've ever been when I was working. Everything it's
Yeah.
funny when I'm talking about it now, you're like, there's no other way to put it except it is a job.
Right. 100%.
So I guess I'm not really answering what a day in the life is. It does change with the seasons. Um, but just you're constantly behind. There are times though where you're, oh wow, I have a little breather here. But then that little voice in the back of your head, what are you going to do now with this time? What are you going to do now? What's next? You're going to mow the lawn? You're going to those
Yeah.
dishes? What do you do? What's the next thing?
Right. Yeah. You know what, dude? I think another reason why the stay-at-home dad life was the hardest ever for me is because you're constantly reacting and needed, and there's no really, like, a lot of times there's no freedom unless you throw on a TV, right? And we can go into screen time, but at least when I was working, and I am working in the corporate world now in addition to the show, but when you're working, you, even though sometimes you don't have freedom, right? You have meetings, you have things you have to do, you have deadlines, but you kind of have like micro freedoms in the middle. Like if I want to turn my attention to like this to follow up to these emails and then come back over here, depending on your level of like seniority, you can structure your day how you want. But when you're a stay-at-home dad and their safety and their, whether they're fed and whether they're where they need to be, you literally have no margin. Like you a lot of times, like you're just being pulled in all these different directions. And I think that lack of agency where you're constantly needed, that drains you so fast,
It's
so fast.
funny you say that. Yeah, absolutely. You're constantly needed. I sit and try and do anything creative, which is kind of what I'm trying to do now that I'm home.
Mhm.
Want to pursue that creative side, and you can't. You need to be in silence and like focused. And then when you're just constantly, what can I do next? Do you want to see my drawing? Can I go outside? Oh, I got to put sunscreen on. And then you're just
Right.
lose that focus, sit back down. Then they come back in. I'm hungry. I need water. Can I go to this friend's house? You're, although you're not even with the kids, you are in a sense still needed. Um,
Right.
and that lack of agency is a big drainer. I would say that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Even if you, like, when you're responsible for them and your partner's not there, your wife's not there, like there is the, you have to be aware, like the weight, like they're your responsibility. So even if they're not in front of you, like they're on your mind, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's unrelenting for sure.
Yeah. I'll tell you about a time where I don't want to say it's fail. I don't know what the actual word would be, but so I was doing really good. I set up a water slide outside, a slip and slide. So the kids had two things they could do outside. Now that requires time and effort. So you're out there pounding the stakes into this water slide, setting up the hose, and slip and slide on the other side. You're setting that up too. Next, sunscreen. The kids go through two bottles just to get them sunscreen. And then you set it all up. You're ready. Go. It took 45 minutes. Go. I go inside to get water. I hear a knock on the garage door, and I'm like, it just came in. I open it. It's my daughter, and she has blood going down her leg. And I'm like, what happened? And she said, I don't know. She says she doesn't know, but she tried the slip and slide. And then she never, that was it. The end of the day. She couldn't do anything that I set up. And then my son didn't want to play because he didn't have his sister to play with him. All that setup
Yeah.
and sunscreen to have nothing happen. And it was, and who do you tell? Who do I call you? And who do I just complain to? I need to tell someone this or I'm raging. And
It's hard to let that go. I remember Similar, right? Like just to get three kids out of the house, especially one of them at the time was, 8 months old, right? So you got all the gear, you got all the preparation time, when do they feed, all that stuff. But to get three kids to a park in northern Colorado, the amount of friggin' work and unexpected tantrums and meltdowns. I want to wear friggin', winter boots in the middle of summer, like all the little fights that you have to like get through and conquer just to get in the car, and you're just emotionally exhausted, like just getting in the
Oh yeah.
dang car before the 10-minute ride to the park. But all that to say, man, there was this one time we were at northern Colorado, picture it, like, we have so many parks up here and they're massive. Like they're just like 3 stories tall, loud, kids running all over, parents all over. And I pulled up to the park in my like 10-minute drive of just like, I was just drained. The kids are all screaming about something. And at this point, I'm just so fixated in my head. I probably should just turn the car around, right? But again, you have it in your head. This is what we're doing. It's going to be great. For some reason, I thought like we're all going to get to the park and everything is going to be okay, So we get to the park and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not yelling at him, but I'm yelling at him. Like, get out the door, right? So anyway, that's all context. My middle child at the time, man, she was just having a lot of temper tantrums, a lot, and especially in public. It made it really hard to go out in public. You couldn't go out to eat. You never knew what was going to set her off, and she just never recovered from like the shoe fight to get to the park. And I remember my oldest kid ran off into the park, which already on my mind is like, I always like to have eyes on her. She's old enough, but I like to have eyes on her. There's weirdos in the world. You never know, it's like we're at a park. And so I have my 8-month-old basically sleeping, and I've got the like, the dad hold going, right? Like this. Um, and I'm really trying to get my middle child to just like get out of her tantrum. I'm trying everything that I know. It's just not working. So she decides to scream at the top of her lungs as I get her out of the car and hit me, and basically just hit me like in the face, which is a no-no. And that's a discipline moment. But now I'm like, okay, we're not going to the park, but I got to go find my other kid. And I'm holding a stroller, not stroller, whatever, a car seat. And the one who hit me is threatening to like run away. Right. So still context. So what I did was I had to like hold the baby in one arm, and I slung my, at the time, 4-year-old over my shoulder, and she's flailing, like kicking me in the front because I had her butt going that way, kicking me in the front, whacking me in the back, bites me on the shoulder, screaming. And I'm walking through probably 35 parents with this kid just screaming at the top of their lungs. And I'm just trying to like keep my cool and look at the parents with this face of like, it's okay.
So much
just,
judgment.
just looking at him. And part of me is like, she's so intense that like, if you would have told me like, hey, that guy's kidnapping 2 kids right now,
Yeah.
like I'm like, yeah, that's what that would look like. So
Well,
I'm
they had to
also
announce this is mine. It's mine.
yeah, these are mine. And I'm like looking around the park trying to, and then of course I finally see her and she's way up top in some monkey bar, and I'm trying to be like, get down here. And I don't want to yell. Bro, it was as far as like on a scale of 1 to 10, my stress levels in that moment was like a 10. And it's 10:15 in the
I was
morning.
gonna say it's
And I've
9 a.m.
bro, I've got a whole day, and like my emotional tank is just depleted, and I'm supposed to go, this is a failed mission. I got to bring them all back to the house. I'm supposed to keep my cool. I'm supposed to address the issues that happened with a cool head because I don't want to like, yell and be over disciplinarian.
Right.
But then I've got this whole day and there's no one that I can turn to and say, pick up the phone and phone a friend and be like, hey, can you come over here? I mean, the thought didn't even cross my mind because that feels like a failure and a submission. But like what I wanted to do was just go home and call my wife who's working and be like, I need some help here. Like, come home and can you just give me 30 minutes to recalibrate, even if I just like stared at a wall? But most of that was to say, Dave, it's like, I hope that paints a picture. It's like when you get home at 10:30 and you bring those kids back out of that car, I'm looking at 6 p.m. when my wife gets home and just trying to like turn my whole attitude around to try to have a good day. But all I'm feeling is defeat.
Yeah.
I just feel like, man, this is hard. And then you string that day together, day after day, week after week, month after month, and you can see why it can become both the most beautiful job in the world, but like it's sometimes, man, the most stressful you can possibly have.
Yeah. Talk about your personal, internal. You're trying not to show other parents, oh, I got this under control. It's okay. I'm fine. This is normal. I got it. But
Right.
you were able to keep yourself. But think about other people out there and how they handle situations, and the fact that you can look internally and know you have to like tell yourself, calm down.
Mhm.
I've been there. And it's just what happens when parents don't do that?
Yeah.
And kudos to you for being able to recognize this is where I had to grow in this moment. But you're looking at that 6 p.m. What am I going to do now? Like,
Yeah.
that was supposed to be at the park for 2 hours.
Look, life can be hard and stressful sometimes. We all know that. But when it comes to supplements, why is it that nobody talks about stress and resilience? For me, I take the adaptogen stack from Momentous Supplements. It's a daily blend of ashwagandha, rhodiola, and L-theanine, all clinically backed to help you stay calm, focused, and resilient. I'm proudly partnered with Momentous Supplements because they are the industry's best. They don't cut corners. Everything's third party tested, used by pro athletes, and high quality. Head to livemomentous.com and use code STRENGTH for 35% off your first order. Again, that's livemomentous.com, code word STRENGTH for 35% off your first order, and get started today. Right, right. Now what do I do? Think on my feet, and it's like, man, it's tough. And I think you touched on something else that's so important to understand. It's like in those rare moments when you're not needed, or in those rare moments where like the kids are like spoken for and doing something or occupied, what we should be doing in those moments is like recovering, restoring, reading, refilling our tanks. But it's not as though stay-at-home parents don't also have other chores and other things to do. So what quickly happens is like, all right, I got a free moment. You look around and be like, holy shit, everything's under control. And then the first thoughts are like this laundry list, sometimes literally, but like this, unless you don't have a dryer, but like you have this like list of things that like you have to almost be really careful not to like just add more on your plate. You have to like resist sometimes because you have other stuff you have to do too, you know?
Oh, yeah. And then when you try and explain, you're like, I had a very busy day. This is what I've done today. As you're doing it, everything you explained plus the laundry list. And you're like, I can't wait to tell my wife when she gets home how much I did today. And then when you tell her and you're like, wow, that wasn't as long as I thought it would be. And I really now feel like I have to add things. And you're like, well, I took the
Start
dishwashing liquid
embellishing.
out of the big container and I squirted into the smaller container that we use. See, it's up. You try and make things up and I don't know
It's
how
like
to.
you say it, and then if you don't get the reaction you want, you start embellishing, just adding stuff.
So funny you say that. Like, I look for that reaction, like her being like, wow, you did so much today. Good for you. And you're like, but I need more. I need if there's no reaction. All right, well, here's something else I did. I swept upstairs too.
You start throwing random stuff in there,
Yeah.
and at the same time, we bombed Iran the other day, and that was stressful for me too.
Yeah.
And I was trying to catch up on
Trying
the
to
news.
get through that while I'm going to the park.
I love it. All right, man. So let's talk about like some of the greatest, maybe worst, most important lessons learned so far in our journeys as stay-at-home dads or stads or whatever we're going to call it. I'll start with
Okay.
you.
You go into parenting and you say, we're gonna limit screen time. All we're gonna do is read. Um,
Mm.
Screens are the devil. You want to keep it away, poisoning your children, organic food only, all that. You try and list everything, but then you realize, wow, that takes effort and we're only human. I remember our daughter was born and I wasn't a stay-at-home parent yet, but it was my shift to wake up with her. So you're like up at 5:30 in the morning with a 4-month-old and no TV, and you had to learn how painful that really is. And I remember just sitting there like, wow, it is now 6:15 and I thought it was at least 11 and I was able to hand her off to my wife. So you learn pretty quick that we still stuck to it. We got better at it. But then you start to learn, okay, it's okay maybe to throw in some screen time, especially when they get older. There's an article in the Guardian that I was reading that Gen Zers are not reading to their children. And it's kind of crazy to think of a parent as being in that 97 to 2012 timeframe, but
Yeah, it is.
uh,
It is.
they are not reading as much with their children. They say it's boring. That was the name of the article, is a quote from Gen Zers. They think it's boring to read. Screen time is replacing one-on-one quality interactions between parent and child. And there's a limitation that's recommended that you limit non-educational screen time for children ages 2 to 5 to about 1 hour per weekday and 3 on the weekends. So if I'm doing that math, you're still giving the kids, they're recommending
11 hours
a
a
week
week.
for 2 to 5-year-olds, which I know we didn't do that, but that's a lot still. To me, that's a lot, and it's, in quotes, "non-educational screen time." Um, so that kinda struck me as 'cause we went right into reading. I mean, heavily read to our children, and I'm not trying to pat my own back, but that was something we stressed. That was one of our probably the best things we've done. They
Good
read
for
for
you.
fun now. Our kids are 9 and 7, and they are reading for fun. In this, they also reference that boys don't get read to from 0 to 2, not nearly as much as girls, and that's why girls are technically ahead of boys in school, um, and how they grow in education. And
Mhm.
it's just kinda tough when you're reading with your children. It's one of the most beautiful, fun things to see them go off on a journey. They wanna know more. Now my daughter's reading series books where chapter books where she can, like, she's looking forward to the next book. So those are things
Wow.
you're excited about. Like, it's what I do, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and then just touching on the reading role models, we've started to I'll sit and read my book, and the kids will model after me and read their book next to me. Now, that anxiety of, "Am I doing enough? What else can I be doing around the house?" My wife comes down, she works remotely, she'll come downstairs and see us all reading, and my panic attack is, she's working hard, and she sees us reading on the couch. She loves it, first off, but the kids are learning that it's okay to sit and read. You're being productive, you're growing as a person by sitting there and seeing
Mhm.
dad read his book for longer than 10 seconds. You're sitting there for 20, 30 minutes and you're reading your book. 1, you cut time off the day, but also 2, you're showing them that it's okay to be patient.
Yeah.
Just having them read for an extended period of time, it teaches that patience and they can grow knowing that it's okay to sit there for 30 minutes to an hour. So that foundation you build, and I'm gonna stress to any Gen Zer I come in contact with, read to your kids.
Dude, I think that's beautiful, man. I mean, if my wife walks downstairs and I've been with the kids, we're either like making forts out of the couch and wrestling or doing doing something crazy.
What's, what's something you would tell me to I'm a stay-at-home dad, I need to know before I jump off the edge, what do I need to know to make sure I'm doing a good job?
Um, your career doesn't matter. What is best for your children matters most. You're making the right decision. This will be hard. You're worse at it than you think you are. But it's the most important, beautiful thing that you could possibly do. When it gets hard, don't drink a lot of alcohol.
Yeah,
Just
avoid.
kidding. Don't self-medicate. When it gets hard, say something. Teamwork with your spouse matters so much. It's so important to be open and communicate. And look, if you ever want to jump back into working, you could always do that too. But have fun. It matters, and you're going to crush it. That's what I would say.
I like it, yeah.
How about you?
Yeah, I would say just be confident in yourself. That's something I've struggled with. So just be confident in your decision. You are doing the right thing. And that's what you just hit on. They do matter the most. It is the most beautiful thing. And think long term, big picture. The effort you put in now, build that foundation. They'll just be better adults when they grow up.
Yeah. Amen. And I would also say invest in home gym equipment, put it in your garage or your basement or wherever, and take all your anger out on some weights, some good old fashioned deadlifts. Hey, man, thank you, dude. This is great. Foreshadowing could be some exciting stuff in the future around dadding
Yeah.
and other things as well. But Dave Lipay, thank you so much for finally joining the Running Free podcast.
Thank you for having me. This was a great topic. A lot to talk about.
Right on. Dave Lipay, everybody. See you next time. All right, everybody, that's the show, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast and spending some time with us today. We've got a favor to ask. If you enjoyed the show, would you please consider subscribing to the show? and even leaving a rating and review, that simple act drastically helps us reach more people in our mission to help them live better, longer, healthier lives. You can also follow us if you'd like on Instagram and YouTube for regular tips and motivation around mental health, addiction, and so much more. Know that your support fuels our brand and is greatly appreciated. So until next time, stay strong and live deep.